Mummy, look, a tomato, a big fat red tomato. It really is, shouts the little darling as Donna approaches. She'd love to stop and tell the child's mother that she should be teaching her child not to be so rude, to be more respectful of others, and not to judge people by their appearance. But she knows she's puffing so hard that all she'd managed to say would be Having caught a reflection in a bakery window 50 yards back, she also knows that she does, indeed, currently bear more than a passing resemblance to a tomato. If, that were, tomatoes wore Nike and had little white patches where copious amounts of sweat had dried out, leaving a salty rime behind. Mummy, skinny of course, sniggers behind her Ray-Bans at her daughter's oh-so-shining wit, before dragging the child away. Donna overhears, "Come on, darling, we need to get to the shops before Mummy's Pilates class," and she thinks bad thoughts. She thinks about stopping, and her legs inform her, "You let us stop, and we're going to stop. Right here, right now. You're not getting us moving again in a hurry. We don't want to be moving now. Let's find somewhere to sit down and talk about this. We don't even have to talk, but let's sit down anyway." Various other body parts join in, and her gait slows to a walk, then ceases altogether. Donna's not normally much of a swearer, but this is fucking difficult, she thinks, as she gazes unfocusedly at nothing in particular, and beads of sweat run off the end of her nose and join their companions on her flabby tummy. Arse-achingly fucking difficult. The runner runs. There is an elegant simplicity at work here. Left foot, right foot, repeat. Her system is in perfect balance, her body doing what it was designed to do, moving gracefully through the world at speed. Her poise is purposeful but relaxed. The arms swing in perfect counterbalance to the legs, transferring power through the torso, pulling first one hip then the other forward. Her head is straight, her gaze focused on the middle distance, but somehow picking up all the details of what's immediately in front of her, so that each time her foot strikes the ground, it does so just the point she wants. Curbs, potholes, puddles, all are observed, assessed and adjusted for. The short and long twitch fibres of her muscles work in perfect harmony to propel her forward, reacting to the nerve impulses so ingrained as to be almost autonomic. She is concentrating only on the run, but it's almost as if she's not concentrating at all, her perfectly balanced system doing what it does best, almost without any conscious involvement from her. And another mile goes past. Donna tries to lift her sweaty top over her head, but her tired arms get caught up in it and throw her off balance, her legs only just managing to catch her before she topples over. Disgusted, she pulls the rest of her kit off as quickly as she can and dumps it in a pile on the hall floor. She heads to the kitchen, but makes the mistake of catching a glimpse of her naked self in the hall mirror. She sobs. Even the night-clad tomato image that's now seared in her memory was better than the corpulent one looking back from the mirror. Fuck, she thinks again, before feeling even more cross with herself for turning into a potty mouth. But she's done it. She's been out and bloody run. And now it's time for carrot cake. She takes a plate down from the cupboard, takes a knife from the drawer and opens the fridge. The carrot cake may be shop bought and isn't as good as the one her mother used to make, but right now it's good enough to distract her from her wobbly and wobbling thighs and aching feet. Her whole body sags in relief as her mouth engulfs the first slice in one go, and her tired arms somehow manage to find the strength to cut a second. The runner runs. She runs past shops, houses, churches, factories, fields. She runs past other runners. Occasionally one will run past her, but not so often these days. Or one will run in the opposite direction, the distance between them rapidly diminishing until they are close enough to exchange the look, the acknowledgement. Then she's past them and the distance opens up again. There's another runner up ahead of her now, a guy maybe 300 yards ahead? Maybe 290, soon to be 250. From behind her wraparound sunglasses she checks him out. This used to be a guilty pleasure, but it's changed over time. A hot guy is still a hot guy to be sure, but this guy is subjected to more of a critical assessment than a sly ogle. He's tall and, judging from the breadth of his shoulders, reasonably muscular. Normally skin-tight shorts are a no-no on guys, she thinks, but with an arse like that he can get away with it, just. Thighs are okay, but he's definitely got runner's legs. Toned, but a bit on the slim side, the calves particularly so. But it's the arms that spoil things. They look like big strong arms. Opening pickle jars probably isn't an issue for this guy, but they're just hanging there. In fact, she thinks, as she purses her lips in appraisal, there's almost no motion above the waist. The legs are turning over at a good rate, but that's kind of it. Which is why, although he's fast, he's not as fast as he could be. And that's why the gap is now down to 110, she shrugs inwardly. Now 70, and now he's just a memory, and she's looking at the road ahead again. And another mile goes by. Donna reaches a junction and puts an arm on a lamppost to steady herself. She's literally at a fork in the road. To her left, it's another 2 long miles back to home and safety and sanctuary and somewhere to sit down and stop puffing. Somewhat annoyingly right now, to her right, it's 4 miles. She turns left. Right now, right is wrong and left is right. She sets off down the road extremely gingerly. No one had warned her about this. She'd read about shin splints, Achilles tendonitis, ITB syndrome, the need for proper shoes and a good sports bra, black toenails, and somewhat disturbingly, for what she thought was meant to be a wholesome route back to fitness, runners' trots, but no one had mentioned the chafing, which is odd, thinks Donna, as running seems to involve a lot of chafing. It's not just between her legs, although the big red welts of pain that feel like they run from the top of her thighs almost to her knees are certainly the worst, but also the ones that have appeared on the inside of her arms as they rub past her torso with every stride. She never thought that the angry blister on the outside of one toe would be the least of her worries. A couple of days ago she headed to her local running shop for some advice, but the mission had been aborted when she had opened the door. The toned and the beautiful all turned to look at her, and before anyone had a chance to confirm or rebut her preconceptions, her nerve had fled, and so had she. The runner runs. The bus stop is 50 yards away, the bus already disgorging passengers, who will be on the move again in seconds. But seconds are all she needs. She's not even out of breath as she hops on board, winking at the driver as she fishes her Oyster card out of her handbag. She doesn't do arriving late at work anymore. The runner runs. There's a party tonight, so she's got a faint suspicion that tomorrow might be a rest day. And anyway, her mate Jacob will be cooking, so it's probably a good idea to work up a bit of an appetite. She's pretty good about what she eats these days. Not careful, just good. The desire for junk food diminished as her appetite for Runner's World articles like Eat Yourself to a New PB increased. And however fast a fast food burger and chips might be, an apple or banana is faster still. But tonight she can relax, indulge, eat what she likes and not worry. The day after tomorrow she'll be back out pounding the pavement, waving goodbye to the calories. The runner runs. Sometimes she runs in the mornings, in afternoons, at night, sometimes even in her dreams. She goes away and the first thing she packs are her running shoes, now her favourite shoes. She comes back and they're the first things out of her bag, and the miles keep going by. Donna runs in the rain. Admittedly, it wasn't raining when she set off. The clouds had looked a bit threatening, but she thought she'd only feel like a fraud if she ducked out of going. Now a downpour had set in, and she was cursing her resolve rather than celebrating it. She squelches, and does her very best not to embody the word bedraggled, albeit without much success. It's hard to remain cheerful or dignified when you're wet through to the pants. Luckily, she thinks, as she reaches the far side of the park, her halfway point, and starts on the 3 miles home, there are very few people about to see her. A fed-up-looking dog walker scowls from underneath, her hat pulled as low over his ears as it will go. Donna jinks left and right to dodge a couple of umbrellas, but she's pretty much got the park to herself. Almost. A runner, a proper runner, she thinks, heads towards her. And though he's as wet as she is, he's grinning from ear to ear. She must look a right sight, she sighs, but there's nowhere to hide. He's going to come right past. But as he gets closer, she realises that it's not a smile of contempt or derision at the way she looks or how she runs, but a smile of camaraderie. You never know, he shouts cheerfully as he splashes past her. It might be like this on race day. Donna gets home and stands dripping in the hallway as her flatmates scoff at her on their way to the kitchen to get more crisps. But later, as she warms herself under the shower, she smiles a little too. Yeah, it rained, and I ran on anyway. And then an idea springs to life. Besides, it might rain like this on race day. The runner runs. The runner runs fast but controlled and at an even pace. She's going for a negative split, so she knows she mustn't overcook things just yet. Still a lot of miles ahead. Crowds line the road, in places maybe 5 or 6 deep, holding up their banners. Go, Julie, go! Keep running, Uncle Sean! We know you can do it! To her left and right, she's joined by a fast-moving tide of humanity, 1,000 stories of heartbreak and triumph. On one side, a middle-aged guy with "In Memory of Claire" and a picture of a young woman on his shirt powers along. On the other, a man with military bearing and a high-tech prosthetic leg keeps up the pace. She checks her watch, adjusts her stride, but there's only really one person she wants to beat. In truth, there's only ever been one. The finishing straight comes into view, and from somewhere she finds some extra reserves and redoubles her efforts, channeling everything she can into her legs. Left foot, repeat. Left foot, right foot, repeat. Her lungs burn but are ignored. The roar of the crowd is astounding as the line gets close. People cheer and kids hold up their hands to high-five as she goes past. She's nearly in tears as she crosses the line and doubles over, trying not to throw up on her own feet. She finds the energy to smile as she pants. Her face is flushed, but it's been a long time, a very long time, since anyone called Donna a tomato.